Hey YouTube, Petey Two Finger here. This is my normal rig that I use for testing circuits. So when I finish a guitar pedal, I'll lay the circuit down. The circuit will be here on the bench. We hook up 9 volts here, and then the input goes to this test oscillator, this beep beep guy here, and then the output I will have a little this little test amp like that. So that way, if it doesn't work, see, in my mind, the probability of like, okay, I'm gonna, I made my first fuzz, I'm gonna plug in and play my Hendrix and figure out what lures go in my hat for my trip to NAM. I'm gonna be the next pedal wizard. Wait for those $1,000,000 checks to start rolling in from YouTube. The women to arrive in droves. My pedal empire is established. I think that circuit is wise to you. That circuit knows, and it's like, no, we're not having it. But, there's more. If you come at it and you appease it with something like a nice little sine wave, nice little test amp, the chances of the circuit functioning go through the roof. So I never hook up a guitar to it. When I first started as a noob, then I would go, honey, and she would go, what? I'm smoking. I would go, get in here and strum this guitar while I troubleshoot this thing, that I've been working on for 16 weeks. And your eyes are going cuckoo, and she's strumming like angry, like an angry strum. And then you're like trying to explain to her moderate velocity on the A string and alternate to a D every 36 hits. Break it up a little bit while you're servicing this. So I kind of go out of my way when it comes to building little accessories and modular stuff. People mock me about that. They go, oh, Petey has his way of doing things, which is, mine is so much better. You go and buy a signal generator or whatever. Anyway, I always thought I could do a better job than the BLM, that's a big word, BLMS box. I always thought I could do better. I've got these long cables. I guess I could show you these. I just did a video on all this yesterday. These are cables that terminate in, what do you call them? Alligator clips. So you can run this up to the circuit and run it to a guitar. But really, that's the next stage. That's when you're hooking it up to a real amp, and you've got the circuit functioning. It works. Because more often than not, when you're doing DIY, when you think you're done and it's going to work, oftentimes there's something not quite right, and then you have to go into that troubleshooting mode, and that's where having something like a test rig, a test tone generator, and a little test amp really comes in handy. Now, I always thought I can do better than this. I always dreamt about something that would combine these two into one chassis with a single power supply running both of them. It would be like ideally where you couldn't get to the batteries that easy. Maybe they're bolted down, because this family, sometimes people steal batteries to put in a remote or a toy. Anyway, the other thing that I wanted to have was a separate power supply for the circuit. So you could have, well, I'll do the unveiling. Drum roll, please. Ta-da! The test-a-matron 7800. Ta-da! Test-a-matron 7800 by Petey Two Finger. So here what we have is a handy dandy signal generator. You ever hear Talking Heads song called Terrible Signal, the Overload? That's what that reference is. The old input. This is just an input. The old input. Got to make sure we get that on camera. So how this would work, you finish your fuzz circuit, but you need to test it before you start counting how many women are going to show up and your $1,000,000 checks from YouTube. So you have this here, fuzz circuit sitting here. Before you get your checks, you would hook this up to the output here, hook this up to the input here. This sends a test tone out. This merely goes back into the amp, and then here, this is the 9 volts for the circuit. So that's how this thing works. 9 volt battery has just got some dum-dum on it. you can replace that. Originally, this was for a iPod. You would stick your iPod in here, little cable would run down to the front, and then you bass, treble, and volume. Now, since my modification, what we have is a built-in signal generator, and you can hear it if I just hook this straight up. And the tone controls don't respond very well to it because it doesn't really have any treble or bass to begin with. It's kind of just a little notch frequency, right? So that's the idea behind this thing. It's a smaller footprint than these two things combined. And at the end of the night, if you've ever built a pedal, you know having this much room is usually there's, I don't have room for this stuff. I've got to put it off over here or jam this thing up against the side because there's no volume on it and it's always way too loud. This has a volume. And this, I think I could actually like play a little guitar to it. Like this, the speaker is way better than what's in this. This is an LM386. It's got this, there's a power boost mode on it where, yeah, when you're going to play your Enter Sandpit, you hit that, and then there you go. You can make that symbol. About all the throngs of women that are going to come. So talking about how we built this, it's a real simple build, but I'm going to go through a step-by-step thing. So that's the circuit board. We're going to take a break, and I'm going to do another video on how I built it, just because I think maybe you wouldn't want to see that. And if you're a glutton for punishment, you can turn back and hear me talk about how we put it together. But this is it takes 4 AA's. I need to screw that back together. The test-a-matron 7800, and the cover, there's a cover that normally would flip down. I stashed that in here, and it rattles around, and you know what? That's going to drive me absolutely crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and put some dum-dum. This is rubber. It's like chewing gum. There's another guy on YouTube that talks about glue tack. I call this dum-dum, and I think it's about the same stuff. But try to wedge a little bit under one side and then the other, and then just kind of jam it. Jam it. So how about that, what's his name? Gary Floyd? Say his name. This,
It's George.
What's that?
George.
George Floyd, I'm sorry. This is not good. This is bad. And I don't mean the rioting, I mean the cops. I'm all for being friends with the police and us needing them, and I'm not a cop hater. I'm not someone who would never call the cops, but at the same time, man, that's a whole nother topic for another video. But man, this is bad. This is really bad. The boogaloo. All right, you guys, tune in for the next video. If not, what can I say? This is the type of stuff that I think about when I'm supposed to be watching an action movie with my wife. Anyway, I'll see you around, and peace.